Making friends was always a challenge for me, so I was very nervous when I walked in the doors of my new high school my freshman year. My first class was a math class. I walked in, I sat down, I got out my paper, I got out my book, and I started to prepare myself for the lesson, and I really didn't talk to anybody when I walked in. A couple rows behind me were a group of kids, clearly athletes of some sort. They looked at me, they saw that I was a little smaller than them, they started to throw spitballs at me, they started to call me some names, they started to laugh at me. One of them came over and accidentally bumped into my desk. Just stuff that teenagers do to try to get under each other's skin. And to that point in my life, I had experienced some of that by playing on athletic teams, but it seemed a little bit odd that they were doing it my first day of class without even knowing me. I ignored it and I went about class, and then the next day it happened again, the same group of kids in the same class. And it started to sort of show. I started to show some emotion. I started to turn around and look at them whenever they did this stuff to me. It upset me, but I figured that they would stop at some point. The next day, the third day of school, the same group of kids did the exact same things again, and I got upset. I turned around and told them to stop, and they just laughed it off and ignored me. Clearly, I was a little bit emotional, and after class, this kid that had been sitting on the other side of the room named Joey came up to me. He looked at me, and he said, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" And I said, "What?" And he goes, "You're letting those kids behind you punk you. Why are you doing that?" Joey was a really big and strong kid, so he was a little bit intimidating. I looked at him and I said, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. They keep making fun of me and they keep throwing spitballs at me. Joey looked at me and said, "You gotta do more than just yell at them. Those kids will punk you until the day you graduate unless you do something about it. You have to do more." And I looked at Joey and I said, "More?" And he said, "More." And he walked away. That night I really had a hard time sleeping. I didn't know what Joey meant by doing more. The next day I went into that same class. The same kids started giving me a hard time. One of them came up to me, bumped into me. At that point I knew what I had to do. I got up, grabbed him by his collar, and pushed him about a row back. He didn't fall or anything, but it was a pretty decent amount of physical contact. He looked back at me in shock. He didn't know what to do. His buddy stood up from their desk and started to walk towards me. Out of nowhere, here comes Joey. Joey walks right up to them and goes, "If you touch that kid again, we're going to have a problem." Joey turns around at me and smiles. Says, "I got you." After class, I went up to Joey and said, "Hey, why'd you do that?" He goes, "Because I've been in that similar position. I was once the kid who got punked. I was once the new kid. We're all new kids here, but you don't play on the football team. I know those kids. They aren't anything to worry about. You'll never have to worry about them again." From that day on, I trusted Joey. From that day on, Joey was my best friend. Joey was my best friend throughout high school, and he's still my best friend to this day.